Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode, I am going to be working on the battery relocation, also working on getting the interior put back into the car. Originally, I was thinking about repainting the interior components, like just giving it a new factory look, going with the same color. But a lot of the paint shops in my area are closed, so I can't make that happen right now. But it's really nothing too crazy that I'm concerned about it. You know, I'm not paying attention to it much really inside the car. It still looks pretty good. I'm going to work on that, and hopefully I can tackle a few other things along the way. I got the headliner installed. Let me know what you guys think about that. I had to put in the headliner first, so I attached the light to hold it up, and then I started off with these pieces right here. Then I moved on to this back piece. Then I moved on to these pieces right here. So yeah, there's lots of videos online on how to reinstall like interior components, door panels, the dash, whatever. And I really didn't want to do anything like that just because I feel like I'd just be wasting your time. So a lot of the stuff that goes into reinstalling the interior, it's pretty much just click in with those tabs, and then the openings where you see screws, just put screws in. Right now I'm gonna work on the engine bay. I'm gonna finish tidying up all these wires, get everything looking nice in here, zip ties, electrical tape, and I'll start giving my attention to the battery relocation, and I'll show you how I do that. What I want to do is I want to make my own post terminal distributor. So I have some plastic, some fairly thick plastic. This is well over, that's like almost 3/8 thick. And then I have a much smaller piece, probably around 1/4 inch thick. And the idea is that I want to put it over here in this area right here. So I'm going to utilize the one existing hole that's in the shock tower. I'll probably make another one. It might be on a little bit of an angle, but that's fine. The idea is that I want to take this piece of plastic and then I want to drill into it the depth of one of the bolts that I'll be using. So then it will basically sit inside nicely. Then I will take the other piece, the 1/4 inch piece, float it over top, seat it in there so it'll sit nice and flush, and then I'll have my 2 holes which I will use as my mounting points. I just don't feel 100% comfortable going to stores right now, so I would much rather just make it myself, and I think that I can make something here that's gonna look good, and even, you know, give you guys an idea on how to do this at home if you have to do the same thing. Instead of buying something, you can save more money if you have this scrap stuff lying around. So I used a 3/4 inch auger bit. It did poke through, but that's fine. It allowed me to get a nice clean circle where that bolt that I'm working with sits in nicely, nice and flush as well. So I just took some epoxy putty that I had, filled it, made another hole on that smaller, thinner plastic. So this basically goes in, this sits over top. That is the piece that I've so far fabricated. I'm gonna do the 2 holes, I'm gonna drill those, I'm gonna put nuts and bolts through them, and then I'm gonna take it to the grinder and just clean off all the edges, everything, clean it up, make it look nice and uniform. So with this distribution block kind of mounted here, I might change the mounting location, I'm not 100% sure. I obviously don't want anything to arc over and make contact with something that is grounded, so I might still put some type of like a cover over top of whenever I have all of the leads leading up to this point right here. I might put like a cover to protect it from arcing to the sides there. I might make myself another one of these, and what I've done is I've actually got myself some 1-gauge wire, and I have my fittings right here, both for the terminal on the battery and some copper fittings right here that I can crimp onto the new 1-gauge wire. So pretty much this is the wire here that we're gonna be cutting apart right here. We're gonna cut this top off here, keep this insulator protector right here. Basically, we're gonna combine these 2 pieces together and put them in one of the copper fittings. That will be on one of the distribution points right here on that block, which will run power to the starter, and then it will also run power to the fuse box. And then the new cable from the back end of the car to this block right here will run power, and then it'll just distribute to there and then distribute to the starter. I still have to make a battery box for the car. I have some metal in the back here that I'm gonna fabricate something. I already put this terminal on. I actually had to grind out right here because the 1-gauge wire wasn't sitting properly inside this top terminal piece, which kind of sucks, but I can't go to a store right now and get something else that's better, but so I grinded this out and I also flipped it so it actually pinches it downward when it seems to be doing a much better job holding. Now I'm debating on if I want to put it in this spot right here or I put it right here. Not yet sure which one I'm going to do. This is nicely crimped and I have it wrapped in some electrical tape. Don't have heat shrink, but the electrical tape will be okay for now. I am just going to start fishing it through and then yeah, put it where I'm going to be mounting it. I thought I'd be able to fish the wire underneath easily, but I just took the seat out and I'm going to go ahead and just keep on going. But yeah, it's easier to get under there because I feel like I'm going to pull that up too far and just break something. So no need to break anything at this point. Here I have the power to the starter and the fuse box. I cut off that old top terminal piece. And I'm just now going to put on one of those copper fittings. Fast forwarding, I went ahead and I just started finishing up the connections for the distribution block that I made. This is what I kind of came up with. I have my wires now pretty much all done up and all connected, all tightened, clamped, taped. I still have to build the box, which is fine, and I'm going to probably make it enclosed and I'll vent it underneath. And pretty much I've just fast forwarded through a lot of stuff that I haven't kind of just filmed. I really wanted just to tackle off as much as I could and just get as much done as I could, just to give you guys more of an update on how the car is doing. I think the biggest thing for me was doing this battery relocation. Probably gonna go ahead and delete the canister as well. Now the good thing is I've made my own lines all the way to the back that I can easily disconnect it at the back and vent it at the back. Right now in Ontario where I live, I don't have to have any emission standards or pass anything like that. So, you know, I can just vent it at the back. So I have no connections right now to that. I repainted the fuse box, cleaned it up, tucked the wires, managed them a little bit cleaner. The rest of the wires are now cleaner. I did some management here in the corner as well. To my standard, it's appropriate. You know, it's not like a beautiful engine bay where everybody has it like super like, you know, tucked and whatnot, but it's functional and I can get to everything with ease. So that's what I like about it. The clutch is bled. I had my wife help me out with that. Right now I'm moving on to the brakes. That's why all the wheels are off right now. I'm going through just making sure all of my fittings are nicely tight and nicely flush with here in the proportioning valve area. Also in the wheel well areas, I'm making sure that those are all tight accordingly and nice and flush. Interior, guys, is all done up. Everything is in, looking nice and clean. After a good wash, everything, I'm pretty happy with how everything's turning out. I really need that new steering wheel. Don't want to go aftermarket to a point where I don't have an airbag. I want the vehicle to be safe, so I'm going to try and find a reliable swap or a doable swap. So I'll figure that out. We'll figure out something here in the dash. Maybe I'll put a screen in here, not 100% sure, but not a priority at the moment. Underneath here, I still have to make sure this gets cleaned up so everything looks pretty. I still have to do weather trim around the back rear door. I went ahead also, guys, and I re-leveled my doors. My doors were pretty in pretty bad shape when I didn't have them nicely level, but just a couple adjustments in this area with the bolts and it was corrected. This part right here, actually I used to have like a metal piece right here, but I just fabbed up this plastic piece and I put like a rubber foam in here just to insulate it and protect it from any type of strong impact against a harder material. So that steel that I had before, I was fearing that eventually it would have cracked here on the radiator. This is much nicer and safer for me in the future, so I don't have any problems down the road. I cleaned, sanded, and repainted the hood latch. Yeah, honestly, it's really just moving on to the final steps. I almost feel like I should make like a list of the things that I have to do still to get it done, but there's still like a lot of smaller things that I gotta pay attention to. I still gotta get a windshield. Right now it's gonna be tough, especially with what's going on. I don't know if I can try and find some type of mobile service that can get me a windshield delivered to my house and they install it. I'll search for that. The top trim pieces right here along the roof rail, those needs to be done still. I have them. Oh yeah, I just have them kicking over here. I do want to recoat them, clean them, and get them in there. But yeah, that's one thing. With the hood, that is one thing that is kind of difficult because all the paint shops in my area are closed. Ordering paint, not so easy. I think what I'm doing, I've actually already gone ahead by the time you see this video. I've already ordered a wrap for the hood, which is probably going to be temporary, but The hood that I have is actually stored in the backyard right now. I'm gonna try it out, see how it looks. If it looks like shit, then I'll just take care of it later on, right? I'll take off the wrap and I'll paint it when everything opens up again. I have the windshield wiper motor installed. I have the piece over top of it. I'm pretty sure I have to take that off when they install the windshield, then I put that back on, but that's a couple minutes to take that off. I just wanted to clean that up and make sure it looked good and fits nicely. The fuse box, yeah, I mentioned I painted that. I like how that turned out. Oh, I redid like my grounds and everything, like for the transmission to the frame. Everything is, you know, nice and new. That everything is done almost. Like it's so close, and I cannot wait for like the moment that I gotta actually take it off these jacks, because I've had these jacks on these things for the longest time. These have been great. As many of you probably have seen this in the videos, if you've ever questioned the durability on these guys are solid. I've gone ahead and I've built these with 2x4s. I've glued them and I've screwed them all in so they're not stacked like Jenga or anything like that. They are solid. One other thing, guys, I've actually gone ahead and done is I purchased a while, not too long ago, maybe like a week or so back, I got a Torque X from Chemical Guys polisher, dual action polisher. I got my 3 pads and I got a little sample kit right there for some polishing. This car right now, you know, I did a long time ago, I did like a wet sand on the car, and I wanted to, you know, just kind of rushing into it. Everything still right now is pretty hazy. The only thing that is ever recoated was the doors, because I had the fish eyes at the bottom, so I repainted those. The front bumper, the rear bumper, and the rear hatch, those are already painted and never been wet sanded or anything like that. The only things that have been wet sanded and, you know, polished were these front panels, rear quarters, and the roof. I'm gonna take the car out, give it a good solid wash, you know, go over everything like that, make sure that there's no buildup of any material that I've been working on in here that's stuck into the paint. So I might do like a clay bar as well, clean it up, start working on polishing out the imperfections of the swirls, the wet sand marks that I have, so I can get this thing looking a lot more presentable. I had my wife help me out and we're gonna start bleeding the brakes, and unfortunately it's my own fault and my own error. I was tightening one of the 10 mil nuts for the brake line onto the proportioning valve, and I ended up actually stripping it in there. It's inside there. It appears that one of my hard lines, and it's this one right here too, you can see that it kind of angles right around the point right there at the top of that nut. And then it tries to straighten out, but when I actually get this thing tightened in here, it's kind of on an angle inside the fitting, and that's causing me a problem. I've been having a leak with that. So I tried to just tighten it down a little bit more, but then all of a sudden it just felt like it slipped inside, and I started stripping it in there. My own error, I just wanted to tighten it and to think for a second that if I over tighten it or tighten it good, it's not gonna leak. So with the brake system, I'm just gonna scrap the entire idea of doing or just replacing or putting back those steel lines. So I'm just gonna go with something that I found online from Valix Racing, and they specialize in a lot of like high-end performance parts and brake stuff primarily as well, with a lot of like the cool lines of being braided stainless lines and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go that route with this. I'm gonna do the entire front and the back, and I know those copper lines that I have, they're good, they're perfect. So the good thing is what I'll actually do is I'll take them off and I'll probably roll them up and put them away for anything in the future. If we look at the brake system, as bad as it is, I think this is going to be an improvement for myself down the road, just because that was my first time doing brakes. And I remember when I did these brakes, I took an example to one of my buddies who's actually a mechanic and a brake specialist, and he told me that they looked fine. So I was like, okay, I did that everywhere on the car, but I just had that one issue right there with that hard line, because it's not as easy to play with like the copper lines. Even though I'm getting those lines and they're a lot more easier to work with, I want to move the location of that proportioning valve. What I've started to work on is I've cut out a piece off a door latch. Never mind, that's not going to work. So I need to make something different, something a little bit more heavy duty, because it needs to be a lot more secure, I think, than what I'm planning on doing with that. So I have to figure something out. I have some scrap steel, so I can probably make something pretty rigid and pretty strong to make this safe and look still very nice. So I'm gonna just do that, take my time a little bit more instead of just rushing into it, because I feel like that was just kind of rushed. Here's the bracket that I am working on. I took my old proportioning valve, I cut out my plate, which is about 9 inches by 2 inches, and I'm basically going to do 2 different mounting positions. So I'll have it like it was pretty much standard in the vehicle, just upright. I'll probably do one as well on a angle like this. It'll all matter on if it'll give me more spacing for the elbows, potentially off of the Valix Racing hard line or stainless line that I'm getting. So I'm going to be having 2 options just in case I need to make any type of modification. So I'm going to drill these out right now, and then after that I'll probably have to do some bending to make it work against the firewall. And I also cut this on an angle right here just to make things look a little cleaner when it's inside the vehicle. It's just like that, right? So I have the 2 options to go either that way, or I have the option to go this way, and it'll look pretty clean inside the car. So I did something different actually. I'm actually putting it on an angle like this instead of having it vertical. I'm gonna avoid doing any type of bend in here, just to keep more distance away from the hood. I also did cut like a good 3 inches almost off of the bottom to make it a little bit shorter. So it's gonna sit in here like this. So there it is with some black, flat black paint. I'm gonna go ahead now and just reinstall it. Gonna clean up some hardware, chase some threads, and get all my lock washers ready to go. And then I'll put it in there, and then we'll see how it came out. These guys will go in like that. Washers here. I gotta say, I am really happy with how this turned out. The convenience now of just having this raised pretty much the height of itself upward allows me just so much easier access to all the ports all the way around it. And also it just looks good. I like how this looks, and it's also with the 3/16 steel that I had for the seats, so this is really rigid and heavy duty. So I'm going to put the 2 bolts right now into the engine bay, get them tightened down, and we'll get a final look at this. Here's the final look of the new proportioning valve and the new bracket that I fabricated. So the nuts and the washers, there is a like a little valley right here on the back of the firewall, so that's actually helping take care of the extended portion of the bolt and the nuts on the back end, so it's not like pressing into the firewall or on an angle or anything like that. It's nice and flat. Even though I had some bad news with the brake line and the proportioning valve causing me a problem and a leak, I'm going to take this time and just kind of take care of those other things that I need to still do, which is the rear end of the vehicle and some other things. I've actually contacted someone as well who hopefully is coming tomorrow, today probably when I get this video posted, to install a windshield for me. So if that's the case, then that's good for me, because then I can just temporarily throw the wheels back on the ground, give the car a nice wash, you know, pull out that hood, get it inside the garage, and start like overviewing that and looking through what I got to do on that. So that'll give me some opportunity as well to even start focusing on the polish work of the vehicle. So I'm happy to be at the state that I'm in right now, and I'm just gonna overlook this entire issue right now with the brake system, with the proportioning valve mainly, and then just hope within a week or so I get the new lines, and then we can get that installed, get the brakes bled, and maybe take it for its first ride. So I'll try my best, and hopefully I can deliver. But thanks again, guys, for checking into today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Longer than usual, but let me know if it was too long. If you enjoyed the episode, hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one.